it's important. A lot of people will say, you know, they're just saying these things. But it is very important that they say the right things. Hillary Clinton said the right things. Donald Trump said the right things last night. Now, the President of the United States, who for years was ridiculed by Donald Trump, who questioned his birth, who questioned his legitimacy, saying, I look forward to welcoming him here at the White House tomorrow. I will do everything I can to help him get a smooth start to his government. We're all on the same team, President Barack Obama saying as he prepares to meet tomorrow with the Republican president-elect of the United States, Donald Trump. Let's start there. There's a lot to talk about in what the president just said. But to people watching around the world, there were jitters in the financial markets last night. Global markets were in turmoil. There was a question of whether the U.S. markets would crash today. It's important that they say and do the right things right now. And it's also, let's celebrate America for a minute, whatever your political views. It is quite remarkable that after a campaign like this, in the early hours, we'll see what gets done. We'll see how long it takes for our political system to go off the rails into disagreement again. But at this moment, we're all on the same team. I'm going to hand you the baton. Yeah. This is a relay race.
Yeah, I mean, it put a sense of normalcy on the whole thing. Again, as he said, that lots of Americans are exultant, and there are some Americans who are less so. And I think people needed to hear this idea of being all on one team. We are patriots first. He talked about unity and inclusion, respect for institutions. In some ways, I mean, I think some Trump supporters will hear that as kind of a lecture to Donald Trump. But, you know, this is what Americans need to see, sort of a sense of normalcy, that all will be well. As Obama said at the beginning, the sun still came up this morning.
The sun came up, but he did smile and say, you know, we have pretty significant differences.
Yeah, and John, I mean, this is also a pep talk of sorts to Democrats who are absolutely dejected today about what happened last night, saying the sun will come up, saying, you know, sometimes this happens, you brush it off and you get back into the arena, you know, trying to make the case that this is not the end of the world. We'll be back at it. We need to reflect about what we did wrong and figure out our way forward. This is the kind of thing that I think a lot of the rank and file Democrats who don't know what the way forward is right now may have needed to hear.
And lost it. This is going to take us months to unravel this election. What the voters exactly were saying, what lessons are to be learned from both parties, how will that impact governing, how much of a leash does the new president have, Donald Trump, where he'll be looking to work with Democrats on some issues like trade, he'll be looking to work with Republicans on others. But one of the things the president said struck me, because it's easy to get lost with so much dust in the air. Secretary Clinton, he said, has lived a remarkable life in public service. We're turning some pages and we're closing some chapters here, including on the Clintons, Bill and Hillary Clinton. A lot of people thought we would have history. Not only a second Clinton in the White House, but a first woman in the White House, but also the first spouse of a former president to become president. That chapter's closing.
Right. Yes, it is indeed. I don't think that takes away from the fact that Hillary Clinton has led a path-breaking life. I mean, she has really been on the edge of gender politics and gender expectations her entire career, and back from, you know, when she was a young first lady in Arkansas. So I do think that she has had a remarkable life. This is obviously not how they saw the final chapter, but I do think it is likely the final chapter.
And the final chapter in the DLC wing of the party, right? I mean, the centrist wing of the party, which the moderate
will see about that. She ran left. I think one of her issues was that a lot of blue-collar voters didn't believe that to be authentic.
Exactly. So I think that.
Well, I think that we're going to see the populist wing of the Democratic Party rise, but there still are centrists in the party too. So I don't know that debate is over.
And on the last point the president was making before he circled back to promising cooperation with Donald Trump, he said, "I told my team to keep their heads up." He's talking about his own legacy because he knows, and the Obama team knows, again, that the Republican speaker said this morning, very early on in the new administration, they're going to work to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, President Obama's signature initiative, Obamacare, we call it now, the national health care law in the United States. He knows that Donald Trump has promised on the first day in office to use his pen in executive orders. Conservatives have been waiting for this moment, Mary Catherine. The question is, do they trust President Trump to actually do what candidate Trump promised?
I mean, that is a real open question, but live by the executive order, die by the executive order. That's one of the problems with executive orders, is that they're easier to get rid of. So that's a problem for his legacy. But there's another problem for his legacy. We talk about this being tough for her, giving this speech. This is tough for him because he explicitly out on the trail was saying, my legacy is on this ballot. And this is a rejection of that, and it will be read as such.
The third election where President Obama has been president. Now, this is the one where he campaigned the most. He had a much more personal investment here than he did in the midterms in 2010 and 2014. But in all three elections during his presidency, when he has not been on the ballot, the Democrats got shellacked. And to your point, let's listen quickly. You just heard a very conciliatory, very graceful a very generous President Obama, saying, I'm going to work with President-elect Trump, even though the two have profound personal and policy differences. Very graceful there. To Mary Catherine's point, just days ago on the campaign trail, listen to this President Obama.
But you don't see him hanging out with working people unless they're cleaning his room or mowing the fairways on his golf club.
This is somebody who is uniquely unqualified. I ran against John McCain. I ran against Mitt Romney. I thought I'd be a better president. But I never thought that the republic was at risk if they were elected.
President Obama will go down as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States. At least I will go down as a president.
Mocking humor there, late night humor from the president. Number one, he was wrong that Donald Trump would not be president. Number two, one of the biggest lessons for Democrats, including the president of the United States will not be on the ballot anymore, but the mocking reference that Donald Trump cannot relate to working people. Well, look at that map. I don't know if we can show it over the shoulder. Look at those industrial heartland states that have been traditionally blue, some of them going back to the 1980s, some of them for 28 and 30 years have been blue. That's the heartland. Some call it the Rust Belt. It is red today, and that is forgive the metaphor, a 2x4 to the head of the Democratic Party.
It is, and it shows that, one, that the Democratic Party did not relate well to particularly white working class voters. We've seen them shifting away from the Democratic Party in recent cycles, but also a failure to get their own base out in some of these key states. African-American voters in some states, Hispanics, other minority groups that they thought they could bring out in significant numbers the way that Obama did. This was not the 2012 map in terms of the electorate. It was more like the 2014 midterm electorate in which the Republicans ran the table in the congressional elections. That is the real test for them going forward. How do you get that base excited?
Well, in 2012, after the Republicans lost that race, there was a lot of conversation about the fact that they were essentially in a demographic spiral. The fact that they were winning with white voters, losing with the growing share of minority voters. Some people in the party said, the minority voice at the time was, let's, no, I think we can win by pumping up our share of the white vote. We don't necessarily have to do better with minorities. Donald Trump may have done a little bit better with minorities, but the real reason that he won was because he did much better with white voters. And I do think that, long term, that still is a challenge for the party because the white share of the vote is decreasing every cycle. It decreased this time, dropped, I think, 2 percentage points. But for the moment, that
Unlike
theory was
2012, they can have that debate now while they're in control of the presidency,
Exactly.
the United States House of Representatives, and the United States Senate.